The shocking story of how Mike Wolf, the star of American Pickers, got his sentence has pictures of him being handcuffed and led away. Many people were shocked and full of questions. Could this arrest be linked to fights over old things or issues with the History Channel? But the truth: this event has a lot more complicated and scary causes than anyone could have thought. If this story surprised you, let's look into the little-known parts of it. Share the video with your friends, hit like to help the station, and subscribe to get new videos every week. The next events, Mike Wolf's story still has a lot of shocking turns. Ahead of the sentence given to Mike Wolf made people all over the United States were shocked as the American Picker star was arrested and taken away. At first, a lot of people thought the arrest had something to do with a fight over antiques or maybe a business disagreement with the History Channel based on the most recent news, but the real story behind the arrest is even more awful. Wolf was caught in connection with the death of his former co-host Frank Fritz, who was first Fritz's. At first, police thought the death was due to natural causes, but now they think it was actually planned murder. Fritz had a very high amount of drugs in his body, which meant he had overdosed, according to medical reports. Wolf was charged with murder because he was suspected of drugging Fritz. Someone who put all of their trust in Wolf was not a mistake. Some have even called it a crime, but many friends and others don't agree. Think the fight between them was just a trick to get more people to watch. Wolf could be jailed if he is found guilty of these serious crimes, held responsible for what he did. Prosecutors think the murder was caused by greed and jealousy, revenge, but the case took an unexpected turn when the initial charges were briefly dropped. Investigators who were demoted have gathered more proof, which makes things even more complicated. A social media post said that Wolf was first arrested after an American Picker team member took him to Fritz's house after he died. The Iowa State Police went there and did a careful investigation, found important clues, such as Wolf's prints on a pill bottle, and Fritz received some strange text messages. This information led to the first murder charges being brought. There were problems with the autopsy report that led to the start of the investigation into Frank Fritz's death. The official cause of death was first listed as effects from a stroke in the toxicology report, but what the autopsy showed was something else. Fritz's amounts of prescription drugs were shockingly high, far above the recommended dose for his condition, which raised right away. Fritz, in particular, was thought to have carefully adhered to his medication schedule while he was recovering, so that investigators could figure out who might have messed up this process. The Iowa State Police quietly started a study that focused on the people who were with Fritz in his last hours. Their results shocked not only the police but also Fritz's longtime. Wolf's car was seen at Fritz's, which was shown on friends' security footage from Fritz's neighborhood house late at night, about 3 hours before the police were called. Wolf called 911 to say that he had gone to check on his old friend Fritz, and found him not responding. When rescuers got there, they found no pulse, and even though they tried to, Fritz was pronounced dead at the scene of the crime. At first, it seemed like Fritz's death was connected to his previous stroke, but lab results showed otherwise. It became clear that Frank Fritz's death was not a natural event, and questions about Mike Wolf's role in it still haven't been answered. The story got darker as detectives looked into what Mike Wolf did right after Frank died. Instead of taking time to mourn Fritz's death, Wolf moved quickly to make his point. Inside of 48 hours of taking control of Fritz's assets and intellectual property. After Fritz died, Wolf called Fritz's lawyer to talk about buying the rights to his name and image, to use them for future American Picker goods, based on what witnesses said. Wolf from the production team also moved quickly to get to Fritz's storage areas, where expensive antiques that had never been on the show before were kept. Some crew members said Wolf seemed to be focusing on business issues more than usual right after Fritz died. When police searched Wolf's home and office, they found no outward signs of grief, which is what you might expect. Found a safe with pill bottles that weren't labeled when they looked inside. The pills were the same kind that were found in Fritz's body. The most shocking find, though, was a journal, discovered in Wolf's travel bag, in which he had written in great detail about how angry he was becoming toward Fritz. Wrote in his diary Wolf that he was mad at and hated Fritz. The entries were from several years ago, and the tone got more and more angry over time, with one entry being made just weeks ago. Before Fritz died, it said, "F thinks he can come back and steal half the attention again. He forgets that without there would be no show for me because he's become a bother, and the network is showing me. I've built something that can only be saved in one way," Wolf said. Resentment toward his old friend and co-worker Wolf looked surprisingly calm while sitting during the 6-week study. Sitting quietly with his lawyers as the prosecution showed proof that he had planned to kill Fritz, the jury was shown evidence that Wolf had looked into drugs that couldn't be found and ways to make them. Fritz died after having a stroke, and Wolf's search records on the internet showed that he had looked up things like "Can stroke drug combinations be found after someone has died?" and "How to make a death look like a stroke." Adding to the problem, the prosecution said Wolf used Fritz's past health problems as an excuse to kill him. Former American Pickers members saw it as the right chance to get rid of his partner and take over the show. Crew talked about how Wolf and Fritz's friendship had changed in worrying ways in the years before Fritz's death. Departure from the show and death that followed, a production worker said. She heard them arguing very loudly about how the show should go in the future with Wolf. When she asked Wolf for full creative power, Wolf told Fritz that he had lost his right to equal pay after his health issues. Several witnesses said Wolf was becoming more controlling and often said bad things about Fritz to network executives, and cutting Fritz off from his longtime friends in the antiques world may have been the worst things that happened. Danielle Colby, who reluctantly decided to testify, gave an emotional account of what happened. She remembered asking Wolf about making up with Fritz, but he got defensive and angry and told her not to stop getting involved in things that didn't concern her. Colby also said she found Wolf's office had notes about Fritz's medication routine, and when she asked Wolf about them, he said he was only worried about Fritz's health. The defense team tried to make it look like Wolf and the other person had a friendship that was misunderstood. They really tried to make peace with Fritz before he died. They even got network executives to speak about public statements that Fritz would get better, but this idea was quickly shot down. When Fritz's personal doctor took the stand, the doctor said that even though Fritz was worried about his health, stayed positive about his recovery, and even had big plans to start his own antiques business, the doctor said that he had never given Fritz such high amounts of medicine during his care. Wolf's carefully kept calm started to break when he was asked directly if he had given Fritz the drugs. As more people spoke out and proof came in, a clearer picture of the Wolf and Fritz had a tense and complicated relationship, which made Fritz's death more puzzling and worrisome. During the whole trial, the prosecution kept bringing up proof and witnesses about Wolf's. For financial reasons, things got tense. Wolf lost control of his temper and yelled at, "You don't know what it's like to start from scratch and see someone else take it," the lawyer said. "Everyone thinks I was just as important to the success of as the person who smiled for the cameras." This outburst made Wolf's defense team call a break to try to calm things down, but it was too late. The jury later said that this moment was very important to their decision-making because it showed the deep. Wolf had been angry at Fritz for years since Fritz left the show. That forensic accountants talked about strange changes to Wolf's business structure during the trial. In the months before Fritz's death, Wolf quietly changed the way his businesses were set up to keep power over Fritz's intellectual property if he became unable to do so or died. Wolf had bought Fritz a business insurance policy that would give his own company a $5 million payout if Fritz died. Million settlement. Officials also said Wolf had set up a number of fake identities, companies that Fritz didn't know about, and sent valuable antiques worth more than $2 to these businesses. Million, and it only took the jury 4 hours to come to a decision. Wolf was found guilty and given a life sentence in jail without the chance of parole. Things moved quickly after that, as the Wolf got out of hand and suddenly exploded in front of the courtroom, getting angry and yelling, "You don't understand," he was going to destroy. He charged across the defense and said, "He was going to destroy my legacy in every way." As the bass ran toward him, he knocked over papers and water cups on the table. That wasn't all Wolf did. He ran at Fritz's family while waving his arms around wildly, before they could hold them back. He made things even worse when Wolf spread fear through the chamber. He got away again, and this time he grabbed a neck brace as proof. That had been shown, and used it as a weapon, cutting one of the bass in the shoulder. "I made an American. Forklifts, that was my life's work," Wolf yelled as 3 other cops tried to hold him down. He then fell to the ground, but he kept fighting hard, kicking and yelling about the betrayal he thought he had suffered. Went on for so long that the judge had to leave the courtroom because Wolf kept acting out of control. Chaos as police tried to restrain him while Fritz's sister watched at the. When Wolf tried to charge at punishment, security had to walk her out of the building. It was a dramatic and chaotic scene. Went on yelling, "I deserve this." Wolf lost his cool as he was handcuffed and getting ready to be led away. His angry yell, "It was my show," made the already tense mood in the courtroom even worse. Everyone was shocked when Wolf screamed and looked at Danielle Colby, who was sitting in the gallery. "Tell them the truth, tell them what Frank was really like." Colby turned around, away, her face clearly showing how upset she was. Other people on the production team couldn't hold back their tears when they saw what happened. The American Pickers family, who were once thought to be very close, is split up. Was now very split over what happened in court. Some people still supported Wolf, but others saw things the way the prosecutors did. Shocked everyone by revealing that Wolf had secretly recorded crew members turning against Fritz in the years following his death. As security tried to keep Wolf from acting out, he kept lashing out. Many were shocked when he said he was going to start his own show. Wolf said, "He told me I was outdated and the network wanted him back." The thing is, the scene in the courtroom became frightening, and at least 3 people, including Wolf's defense team, were hurt. Lawyer who was being dragged out when he was hit by a flying water bottle. Of the room, Wolf kept yelling about how he thought he had been betrayed the whole time, saying that Fritz had planned to shame. After what happened in court, Wolf's old coworkers and friends spoke out against him. About Wolf's personality, former American Pickers director Thomas Reynolds talked about times when Wolf lost it. After the fact, when things didn't go his way, he kept up the perfect country look. Reynolds said that he was funny in front of the camera but scary when he wasn't, especially with lower-level employees. Wolf was becoming more and more anxious because he thought Fritz was planning to return too. Legal experts who looked into the case on a rival show said that Wolf may have suffered from narcissistic personality disorder, which could explain why his public and private selves are so different. Behavior. The case shocked reality TV fans, especially those who watched American Pickers, a show that had millions of fans around the world. Were shocked when the History Channel canceled all of Wolf's episodes. Because of their sadness for Fritz's family, a number of big sponsors also pulled their support from the show, leaving the future of Fritz's family sued American Pickers to get control of the show. Fought over his antiques collection and intellectual property, promising to respect Fritz's memory while going after legal action. Steps against the network for letting Wolf's behavior get worse and worse. Mental health professionals looked at the case and said Wolf may have gotten a more severe form of. After years of getting a lot of attention, Dr. Robert Keller, a criminal psychiatrist. This doesn't excuse his actions, but it does help, the psychologist said. Explain how his public image is different from how he acts in private. People with narcissistic traits may seem calm and charming, but they are likely hiding deep anger and planning evil. Revenge. The most troubling thing about the case was how Wolf used his TV show to trick people. People thought that after Fritz's death, Wolf went on social media in tears and blamed Fritz's death from complications from his stroke right before he seized the chance to talk about his plans for the future and create a new image to get people's attention and keep his own safe. Legacy. Once Wolf was given his term, prosecutor Sarah Donovan stressed that not only was this a murder, but it was also a planned lie against millions of people. These people thought they knew Wolf and felt sorry for him, but they were wrong. That the man who killed his ex-partner was taking advantage of their sadness to make money. Himself, detectives found that more than $1 million had been given soon. After Fritz's death, most of the money was put into accounts that only Wolf could access. When Wolf's former fans and watchers heard about the life sentence, they were hit with a harsh reality. The public's view of him as an avid antiques collector fell apart, and the dark truth of a man who was capable of Wolf's murder and violence have made us feel cheated, but also by the years of lies we've been told. Open their doors to us every week, said regular viewer Robert Jenkins. People who had put their faith in Wolf's down-to-earth kindness and desire to protect had to face the painful truth. In reality, it was all a show to hide bad and upsetting behavior. The tragedy shocked the public and caused a deep split within the American Picker crew. Some crew members thought Wolf was innocent, while others supported the prosecution. Danielle Colby was one of the. A witness for the prosecution quit TV because she needed time to heal and think in a calm environment. In a short message, she said she hoped that the tradition of preserving antiques would live on despite the terrible events. Other crew members have stayed out of the public eye because they are also dealing with the pain of losing Fritz and seeing Wolf get guilty of. Before Wolf lost his temper and killed someone, the judge said something that seemed like a sign. Says, Mr. Wolf, you show yourself as an American and history hero. As someone who thinks about revenge and murder, you've used your stage to preach how important the past is. When they planned to kill the man who helped build that base. Today, justice is done for more than just Frank. Fritz. Wolf lunged across the screen for the millions of people who were watching at the time. The table, which set off a furious rant that would be his last public appearance before he was taken away to. He will spend the rest of his life in prison if you found this story shocking. Please share the video with your friends. Please like the video to help the channel and subscribe to see more. The story isn't over yet. We'll keep giving you the most exciting and shocking information. However, while Wolf's case continues to shock people, something else has also made a stir. There were reports going around in the reality TV world that Richard Harrison, who is better known for the TV show Pawn Stars, was given a life term. Harrison, a businessman and TV personality known for being direct at work and having a lot of information, suddenly found himself in major legal trouble. Pawn Stars has given fans tough